So this is the second part of the first day of the music conference, Music Talks conference. After these first two panels, the second part starts with also a very important topics about the festivals, and it's related to their internationalization and international marketing, which actually means income from different countries, right? And audiences. So we have fantastic speakers again. Aniela, Russeva from Webit Festival, the biggest technology and IT festival in the Balkan region. Nikki McNeil, head of global publicity, one of the major advertising and marketing agencies in the music industry. And Ed Walsh, who is head of global sales in Easol, which is one of the most fast expanding ticket company in the UK, and also they just opened two big offices in the US, so they know a lot about internationalization and marketing of the festivals. And I'm very happy to introduce you Velislava Popova, who is editor-in-chief of Dnevnik, with very, very big experience in marketing, actually. So enjoy the panel.
Hi. As someone who it's almost living the news 24/7, I would like to start the panel with one news that caught my eye early this year in March. And I will read it a little bit. It was part of the feed of the Associated Press daily news. And it said that Taylor Swift stole the show at an Asian summit Tuesday when Singapore's leader was prompted to defend his tiny country's exclusive concert deal with the singer that risked bad blood in the region but preventing her from performing in neighboring nations. Singapore is a key member of the Asian 10-nation bloc. And in these 3 days, the leaders was expected to focus on members' Myanmar humanitarian crisis and also with the conflicts in South China Sea. Instead, Singapore Prime Minister Lee Loong was grilled on the summit sidelines about a lucrative and exclusive deal his city state struck with Swift that prevents the singer from taking her race tour to any other stop in Southeast Asia. I like the story to start the topic about internalization and marketing of the festival market and all the events. And you all already know the guests. I have the chance to speak with them earlier this week. And now we have a great opportunity to listen the experience of how to market a great event, how to create an event that you can sell abroad and even the cities to compete for it, and also how to sell experience, what Ed Walsh tell me. I'll start with the question to Nikki, and I will ask her, because the idea here is to share knowledge, and after that we to know more how to even develop better this area in Bulgaria, and maybe it's like to finish with more optimistic view with what can happen instead of what we have in politics these days everywhere. But Nikki, what's the first thing you need to have in order, before the marketing, what's the most important thing to have for a festival in 2024 in these days?
That's a very large question. Yeah, I mean, firstly, I would like to say it's great to be back here. I've done a lot of work in Bulgaria with Ivan and other events, and also in the region. So this region is really special to me. So I'm really glad that I can be back and hopefully help you all grow some of the businesses that you're working on. So back to the question. I mean, In terms of PR and marketing, I would probably say your unique selling point. You know, I think they touched on it before in the last panel, like what is it you're selling, what's unique? Most of the festivals I work on all have a unique aspect. So if you think of Spear of Burgos, it was on a beach. If you think of Exit Festival in Serbia, it's in a fortress overlooking the River Danube. If you think of Ziget Festival, it's on an island in the River Danube. So they've all got unique things about them. So, you know, it is a crowded marketplace. So what have you got that's unique? So that would probably be my first thing to look at. And also, in terms of that, probably why do you want to do PR internationally? Because there does seem to be the holy grail that whenever I talk to festivals, they always want to be in The Guardian and NME. But I'm like, why? You know, because being in those media probably won't sell you tickets. You know, you've got to do a huge campaign in lots of publications, social media, like across all kind of channels to have an impact. But often they tell me that if they get in those kind of publications, it raises their standing in their own country with their own audience. And then it could also get you extra sponsorship. So there's kind of, seems to me there's two elements to the PR. It isn't always the ticket sales. It could be just to raise profile. So they would be my two major things. Why are you doing it? And what's your unique selling point?
And then what kind of marketing do you need now? What couldn't you exclude and what doesn't work anymore?
I mean, I would say don't focus on the UK. There are other amazing markets there. You know, if you look at Ziga, so the two biggest nationalities that go there are the French and the Dutch. You know, they love to party and go places and have the money to visit and explore. The Irish, they're very inquisitive and love to go everywhere. The Germans, so, you know, and also then you get a good mix of people. You don't just get English people. You know, your festival vibe is your audience, isn't it? So when I go somewhere, I want to meet, you know, if I'm in Bulgaria, I want to meet you. I want to learn about your culture and get your vibe. I don't just want to go somewhere with English people. So I would say don't focus on one market. It might not be the right one for you. So it could be Germany or France.
Okay. I will ask now Aniela about the Webit because they develop something from Bulgarian market, which now travels all over the world. What was the turning point that do this festival so international, and how do you develop it right now when this scene of tech and other events is also very crowded and competitive?
Thank you, first of all. Thank you for the invitation, and it's really an honor for me to be here with you. By the way, I'm not the person that is often on stages. It's not my place. I'm the one that is digging behind. So basically, Webit is one of the largest tech and innovation communities. So when I was listening to you, Nikki, maybe this is what is most important. The event is afterwards, somehow. And yeah, events now that we have, we are doing them in different locations. We've reached attendees from 150 countries before COVID, so it was a huge success. And Webit also produces, when you have been talking about product, Webit also produces Founders Games for the past 15 years. And Founders Games, as global media says, it's one of the most competitive and impactful platforms for growth stage companies. And we have on a yearly basis around 400 to 500 applications from all around the world. And it all started after the event. How the event started, to be honest, it was even a funny story because the founder of Webit, Plamen, and me digging behind him, so he was living in London back then. And he came back to Bulgaria, and what he was with background in technology before that, and what he realized coming back, living here, it was for family reasons, is that what really lacks here on our local market is the ecosystem. And you can imagine, 17 years ago, technology, digital, all these words were very, very exotic. And he said, we need to do something for the local ecosystem. We need to create something that will gather the ecosystem, even if it is small, but it will be a good step to start growing up. And we said, okay, let's do an event. But Sofia was exotic place for all these speakers that we wanted. And his personal friend was back then the second person in Facebook, Blake Chandley. And Plumman called Blake and said, Blake, would you come to Bulgaria for a technology event? He said, where? Bulgaria? Oh, cool. And what we gonna do there? And Plumman said, it's a great place. There are a lot of opportunities. It's a great party, by the way. And he said, okay, I'll come and join. And then we started with the campaign. And we just put the dates. We had a lot of media partners. Also, Dnevnik was among them. And thanks to all these media partners and friends in Bulgaria, we started a big campaign. And we just put on the outdoor the dates and 2 words, tech event. And you can imagine 17 years ago, tech as a word was perceived more as a music genre, to be honest. So most of the people, they have been expecting maybe DJs on the stage, but not Blake Chandley speaking about Facebook and technology, etc. But all these people, most of them, they realized it's not about DJs on the day of the event. This was our first hard lesson to be learned. And it started as an event. The second thing that we've decided it's important to do, because back then in Bulgaria, when I talk about B2B events, I'm not very much familiar with B2C, to be honest, but in B2B there were events like 50 to 100 people maximum. They were very much focused on a specific topic, like it is not event about health, it is event about ophthalmology and that specific area in ophthalmology. So we've decided, okay, how are we going to gather together 1,000 people? So we need to do something that is, we need to make number of events all together at one venue, number of different hosts. So that's how we started with the concept of multi-focused events. And we've gathered around 1,000, 1,500 people for the first year. And that's how it all started, as idea to help the local ecosystem grow. And it was not hard. It was not easy, I would say. It was a lot of hard work behind. Back then, there were no like ticketing systems. Everything was paper, and I don't know if you have memories, but I do have memories. And it was hard to organize, hard to attract people from all these like markets, London, US, in Bulgaria, because it was a teeny tiny market somewhere in Europe.
So your lesson is that it's not necessary to have the international guests to bring the international audience. Sometimes maybe the international guests are more important for the local audience because you attract it. Where is the balance with the international guests and local guests, let's say?
Definitely it's much more sexy, or at least it was sexier when you have some names that are coming from abroad. First year, to be honest, most of them were from abroad because, as I've said, local ecosystem in digital and technology, they were very few people. All of them were there at the event. They have been speaking. They have been supporting us all the way, still with us even now. But it's always important to have somebody from a bigger market to share experience. But now when we have been talking to you a few days ago, I shared with you that now it's a little bit different. It's, if 10 years ago people were going to events because they wanted to hear something, to explore some case studies, to listen something new. Now, since you have all this online and you can, I mean, all the content in the world is in your phone, it's more about the experience. It's more about the personal experience and networking that you can build. And that's why I truly do believe that most important is, first of all, take care of your partners. Make sure that the event that you organize and the tools that you can provide are working for their success. So they're not coming just to put their logo on the stage and to have some speech there, but you really need to make sure that what you provide is a platform for their success. The event is just the stage and you show the success there.
Here I will jump to Ed because they developed this on other side, the platform that can sell not only tickets but the whole experience. And he told me that now it's not enough to have only like even a very great performance for one event. You need more. What is the experience these days that people are ready to pay, and how also you need to serve them to sell the product?
Yeah, hey everyone. Really nice to be here. So thank you Peter for inviting me. A little bit about my background. From London in my early 20s, a group of us started a music festival in Croatia. So I have a almost reverse experience from most of the panels here, which was we ended up taking sort of 10,000 British people to an almost unheard of holiday destination of Croatia at the time. And our construction of marketing was like the complete reverse. We actually wanted to attract a more international audience to come to Croatia because we felt bad that we just threw a load of British people and descended on a local market. And when you're a guest in a country, it's really important that you embrace the local culture and get the local partners involved. So my experience really, as we transferred into technology, so now I work for a company called Easol, which is it's like an e-commerce platform. We're trying to change the way that events are ticketed. It's like a DIY software-based platform, and the idea is from previous experience that when you are commuting an audience base to a different country, with the cost prices and sort of competition, the industrialization of music festivals that's happened, it's really important that you offer your customer base a bit more of a rounded experience. A really good way to look at that is, I think when we started our festival, it was really like, you know, we were kids, we liked drum and bass. It was like, pay £100, we'll put on a bus, we'll drive to Croatia. It's great for British people because there was sun, and that was pretty much the crux of it. Then we started realizing that actually there was many audience groups in Europe, like German, Dutch, Spanish, who really looked at the UK as like a cultural hub point for electronic music, and they were like, hey, we want a piece of this. You know, you've brought the British lineup to a European country, and we don't get that in our ecosystem. As you said, that there's a level of authenticity that has to go with these communities. And as the product developed, now I'm older and have a more commercial head on my shoulders, we realized that these events were now replacing the traditional sort of package holiday, we used to call it. I'm not sure if it translates in Europe, but Nikki, you'll understand that when we were young, it was Club 18 to 30, which was like go to Magaluf or Benidorm and stay in a hotel, drink loads of beer and be horribly British for a week and then go home. We actually were replacing this product with a more culturally relevant product for the underground, I guess, the disenfranchised kids who really were intently involved in a music scene, which is a community in itself. It's funny, you talked about digitalization. The first year we ran the festival, we had paper tickets. We had to have people in every city in the UK. I remember driving around, picking up cash, counting cash, how many tickets, and then it was like crazy. So I'm in a privileged position now to be in the digitalization of these events. But to your point, no, what we're seeing now from our position is I work with many different promoter groups, predominantly British promoters who run events in foreign countries, so Malta, Croatia, Holland, Germany, and the complexity of these products has had to really evolve. It's no longer good enough to just offer a lineup with a ticket. These kids are very strapped for cash. You know, the economic climate across Europe, across the world is as it is. And if you're going to attract an 18 or 20-year-old to spend 500 euros, 1,000 euros to go away for a week, then the expectation now is hotels, nice toilets, more complex food offerings. It's not enough to sit in a competitive landscape and just expect people to come off their own accord and here's a stage with some speakers and a lineup. The kind of rounded package is becoming a more prevalent product. And you can see it from the top, the industrial end of the scale. So Marta was talking about Primavera. I mean, my festival and our landscape was very much a more humble affair, smaller, independent. But these globalizations of music festivals, even such as Ziga Exit now, they've become monsters of their own accord. And if you want to exist in that landscape, you have to find a way to make a business work on smaller scale. So if you're only attracting 5,000, 10,000, any promoters in the room will know that your margins are extremely tight. And so offering a more diverse product set is a way of kind of finding new ways to monetize things, whether it's yoga experiences, food experiences, hotel packages. Airbnb showed everyone that if you actually work with an ecosystem in the local area around accommodation, then maybe the festival could officialize the accommodation packages of people flying into a place. So, yeah, it's very, very different from the days of field and a rave, I think.
It's something like an all-inclusive package for a festival.
I think when I was 18, I was very happy with a can of beer, a bag of drugs, and a field. And an 18-year-old now is very much used to a better form of life. So a 5-star hotel with Prosecco and a Michelin star dinner before they go and listen to some music. I mean, I'm obviously exaggerating, but it's like, I think from my experience, when we went to Croatia, we were very much welcomed in the first instance, and then you have to make sure you tread the line carefully of being an unwelcome guest and someone who brings economic value to the region you're going. And the way to do that is to engage with all the stakeholders. The guys in the previous panels were talking around that. So engaging with local accommodation, restaurants, taxis, police.
You talk about how different are the younger clients, let's say them now of the festivals, and Aniela mentioned about the communities you need to form in order an event to be successful. Maybe a question to Nikki. What is the balance, for example, to create a community and to expect similar, or at least, let's say, 70-80% of people to go second or third time for an event as a tradition? And what is the balance to try to attract new visitors?
I mean, that's changed incredibly. I suppose when you launched your festival, it was probably when it was the heyday of festivals, kind of like early 2000s, and it was all very new. It was Roskilde, it was Exit, it was probably Dance Valley, Dance Valley, Holland, all those kind of things. And it was the thing to do. It was the new, exciting thing to do. Obviously, you said you went to Exit in 2003, just after the war and all the bombs and the bridge had gone out. So that was very brave in those days to just head to this country and just have it. But obviously it was very free and open then. But back then, the flights were cheaper. There wasn't so much competition. It was the new thing to do. Now, as Ed said, the marketplace is very saturated, and back in the early days as well, from the tickets, we did have more repeat customers. People would come back to a lot of these festivals 3 or 4 times, but now as the market's changed and there's so much choice, everyone wants new. Trying to get that new, younger demographic to be the first one after they're finishing their exams and come to your festival when there's all this choice, when they could be going to Ibiza, Magaluf or Miami or whatever. It's a lot harder now to get that audience. So it's kind of changed. And also, I just wanted to address your point, with all your add-ons of the experiences and food. It's really interesting because those are the kind of things we do for journalists on a press trip that would be behind the scenes. So it's so interesting that now that is at the forefront and that you want everybody to be able to experience those things. So it's quite interesting how that dynamic has changed.
How do you work now with these media partnerships? How important are still the, let's say, traditional media than the social media when you plan the communication for an event?
Well, most festivals won't write about you without money and a partnership now. I'm sure Marta could probably qualify that one. Gone are the days where you can send out a press release announcing your lineup and everyone writes about it. Now it's kind of like, oh, how much money have you got? If you buy this package, you can get this. If you buy that package, you can get more. Sometimes now you can't even get media to come on a press trip without a marketing package as well. So those have really changed. So now it's a lot more negotiation and how much have you got. You know, my job used to be, I think you're going to love this festival, you've been to that. And it was all about the passion and finding those people that you felt would love something. Now it feels very transactional. It's how much you got? No, you're not doing it. You know, so that's the difference I'm finding now, in particularly internationally. So it's definitely more money driven. So it's finding those partners that are really into your event. So as I said, everyone wants NME, but you might find a smaller one like Notion or Clash, you know, and they might be less money, but they might be more passionate. And if they're more passionate, you probably get more coverage and more engaging, true kind of coverage. So don't always go for the big ones. Find some of the smaller ones who are passionate, and I think you'd get more out of it.
Aniela, how do you marketing Webit these days? From tech event to what?
So listening to them, I truly do agree with the fact that with the media is completely different. With us, because it's a B2G and G2G platform, it's a little bit more different with the audience, because our usual audience, yes, they are lots of, like thousands of young people, but they are there not as end customers. They are there because they are part of corporates or they are entrepreneurs, and I cannot say that there is, I mean, it's maybe equal, the audience that is new audience and people that are coming and they are even following us in different locations. Also for the marketing itself, as I've mentioned, after the first 3 years of Webit, when we started here, the third year they were already around 4,000 people, and we had a very high-level delegation from Turkey here in Bulgaria, without invitation. They were representatives from the Turkish government that entered the event, so we knew they were there, but they have been spending just their time around. They have been going from stage to stage, listening, watching, talking to our partners, etc. And then on the second day, they've invited us for a very short meeting, and they said, we want to invite you to come to Istanbul, so we discuss how that event we can host it in Turkey. And back then, without any experience, we said, okay, super, we're coming. Again, without any experience, the negotiations were very short, very fast, as you can imagine, and we've signed the contract for 4 years. So this was our first experience working with a government, but a government that back then, they really had a vision and a strategy why they need technology event that can attract international, not only media attention, but investors, talents, etc. And back then, Turkey, I mean, market was like that. Almost everyone, like in technology business, all the corporates, they have been setting up their offices for EMEA in Istanbul. So we were there at the right time because we've been invited by the government. Government that, again, they had clear vision why they need such a platform in their city. And they helped us a lot with all the representatives from the local associations, business, hotels, accommodation. So we really offer a package for all these people that are coming. And last but not least, destination is very important. So it's much more interesting when you invite somebody to Istanbul than to Sofia. Now it's the same, back then even more. So after these 4 years, the event really grew up a lot, because it was supported by the government and because they knew who they want to invite, why they need these people there, why they need these corporates there, why they need these governments there. And it was a lot of support by the government and because of their vision. After Turkey, it was easier because we already had the experience. So we started different locations like Dubai, Singapore, New Delhi. It was incredible experience to make event in India, because usually if you make event in Europe and you need one person doing one thing, in India this one thing is doable by 10 people. And it's amazing in terms of organization. And all these years in Bulgaria, we have been always making at least one event per year, much smaller scale, because it was predominantly philanthropy and because of the support of our corporate partners. Here, there was no vision why the destination, Sofia, Bulgaria, needs platform that attracts investors, media and talents. Now I cannot say it's a lot different, even though maybe now there is vision, but there is no government. So that's the thing. And when it comes to marketing, when you work with a country or a city, because I'll give you an example with Valencia. This was our last contract just before COVID. There were 27 cities bidding for next European host of Webit. And in Spain, they were Madrid and Valencia. So Madrid, they are much more, they have more, let's say, budgets and more opportunities there. But we as a platform, Madrid doesn't need a platform like Webit. There are a lot of events there. There is ecosystem. And we can help, so we know what we can offer. We can help places where they need their ecosystem to grow, where they need international attention of media, international investors coming and exploring the opportunities. So that's why we've decided to go to Valencia. And it's amazing to see how a city sells itself when they want an event there. So they really know how to sell a destination as a destination. They show you all the best places in the city. They present you to all the businesses, to all the associations, to everybody that can support you locally. So it's completely different scenario when we talk about marketing, when you need to do B2C event by yourself, paying to media, because absolutely I do agree. 10 years ago it was important that it's party, it's fun, it's great, they will meet great people. Now they ask, how much do you pay? What's the package? What do we receive? Otherwise, they don't care. But when the government invites them, it's a different scenario.
Sounds like I should be working in tech. I'm in the wrong business.
I was going to say, yeah.
You can do a combination.
Let's talk afterwards.
Good festival for the tech. So I started with this example that Singapore paid additionally to Taylor Swift not to have other concerts in the region, to have all the business there. When you work with governments, what do they expect when they help and provide money for this?
So expectations are huge, always, and you need to deliver much more than what you've promised. So they really expect that you dedicate yourself and the brand to the location. In Spain, the case was that they even wanted us personally to move there, to open office there, to be there, so to know people, to know local ecosystem, to know their needs, not to produce the whole thing from here, even though it will be cheaper. They expect a lot of media attention, and they expect a lot of, let's say, awareness. And because when the government is with you and when the city is there because they know why they need that platform, it's easier even when it comes to topics, because I do agree that we also change everywhere. If 15 years ago it was about digital marketing, now Webit is more about AI-powered economy towards sustainable and resilient future, as you can imagine. So we change not only the topics, but the whole vision every year, because you need to adapt. If you don't adapt, you just die. But when there is a government, even some of the topics are there for you, because they know their region, they know what the location is good for, what they seek for, and they even put some guidelines for the topics, for the people that they need, what they expect. So it's not easy to work with the government at all. It's not easy, let's say like that. But it's easier when it comes to attracting international attention to the event itself.
Nikki, and from your experience, how cities or mayors or places where festivals are organized can help, or sometimes maybe even can create problems?
I mean, I guess the biggest example I probably work on is the Amsterdam dance event. Obviously, it takes over the whole city in Amsterdam in October. If you've been, it's kind of maybe 4,000 or 5,000 delegates and like maybe over 200 parties across the whole week. They have AD flags across the city, and they basically have to liaise with the municipality and having all the venues they're going to use approved. So the municipality knows where everything's happening, what you're doing, and you have to kind of liaise with them all the time if there's any crowd problems or whatever. And sadly, with with the demonization of club culture. If there's any drug death or anything, it's your fault. So, you know, you have to look out for your crisis comms as well, because they don't want that happening in their city. So that's also something, you know, you're on tenterhooks about, you know, is something like that going to happen? But, you know, the past few years we've been very lucky. Everything's been very safe and nothing has happened, which is great. But as the event expands, there's probably over 500,000 people come to the city during the event. And obviously they do get funding from the city and stuff like that. So they have to prove how they're adding value, what they're doing. So they also have an arts and culture program that they do. So they have to also show that they're cultural, how they're adding value. So they're always evolving and showing how they're growing and not just club and nightlife.
And Ed, you talk that nowadays the festivals try more to sell the whole package, so to keep people in the festival, not, for example, to spend so much money in the local business, or not? What's the combination?
No, I mean, obviously festivals or products are completely different. In the UK, we have a lot of what we call greenfield sites, which is like a field in the middle of nowhere. Certainly the locals do not want to engage. They're very, very small villages in the middle of the countryside, so festivals create their own city. I think the package element, the experience element is more around upselling. But, you know, my personal experience is like completely different. We were in our 20s from the UK. We landed in Croatia. We didn't have a clue what government was or whatever. We just set some speakers up. We partnered with the local punks, and they kind of gave us their squat island and said, do what you want. And we only really knew what the local government was when the police turned up after 4 years, because we got so big. They were like, we're missing out on some money here. That I think those days are gone for people in my position who are, you know, look, I'm old now, I have a mortgage to pay, I have to commercialize a business, but I still think the spirit of independent and creating something exists. And so my advice to anyone is, like, I don't think the days have gone where if you are authentic and you have a good idea and you're passionate about a community, that will always lead the way. And there's the reverse way of doing things. There is, of course, once you get to scale where you have to engage with a local entity or, you know, international marketing, there's also the reverse, which is just build it within, build your crowd. And that speaks volumes within itself. It's almost organic marketing because word of mouth. We found great success purely through partnerships. And we were an electronic music brand from the UK, and we connected with every single city of worth, like in Europe, and found local promoters. We did something called launch party tours, which is that we would find Bulgarian, Australian, Chinese, Japanese, German, Dutch, local promoters who had the same music tastes and community as us, and we would partner with them to do almost like a localized event in their region, and then invite them to bring their audience as like almost like the Mecca, you know, the meeting of minds. And we grew it to a point where then it got local government attention, and then we kind of had to build those skills. The package element and stuff that I'm talking now, I think is today. And that is like, if you get to that point where you create an event through luck, through passion, through however it happens, if you then decide like, okay, this is now my livelihood, this is my, you know, business, and I want kids and I want a mortgage, like I have to find a way to make this work, you ultimately end up at a crossroads of how do I manage authenticity of like the core, or you know, Marta from Primavera was talking about big sponsorships. Some audience members don't want to go to events that are big sponsorship, and you've got to tread that line between, yes, talking with local government, but also what is your audience group. We see that a model that is working for success is this localized kind of, we work with many events in Malta at the moment. This is an island that is crying out for a regeneration in its different tourism, and therefore hotels, beach resorts are kind of offering themselves as like, hey, you can come and host an event here. If you bring these people, we can work in partnership. It's less around like sort of governmental tourism thing. It's more like lower level, on the ground, local businesses coming together. And what is really interesting about that, especially in Malta, is like once you do that, then the local governments start going, hey, hang on a minute, like you're doing this without us, we want a piece of the pie, or we want to scream about it. And then it's like the next stage of evolving the event and making it sustainable and last. And I don't know, the gentleman this morning from Makassar Festival, he said the same thing. It's like you get to 40 years old and you're putting on an event for 18. It's really tiring to keep up with the energy, but if you evolve the product that like works more on a commercial level, then these are the kind of avenues you've got to explore. But I definitely would never advocate kind of not involving the local community. Yeah.
Okay, we talk a lot about how to prepare all the marketing, communication, what kind of product do you have. Nowadays, you know, everybody is like a communicator with his own phone and different profiles on different platforms. How important is, and do you care also about the marketing during the event, and what you try to do after the event, and to keep or to warm up community for the next year, and also to add how the platform helped the promoters for this, the organizers, sorry.
Yeah, I think it's the same with anything. Like any industry is digitalized to a mass extent, and really at its core, like a business is just trying to chase customers and become relevant. Again, like I say the word authenticity, sometimes you can organically grow a community, and online social media has had a really positive effect in some aspects if you find it right. It's also had a big negative effect because now there are many micro communities that, you know, can create sort of conflict and trying to speak to too many people. But platforms like Easol, where we kind of see and where we speak to promoters is more around, it sounds overtly commercial, but it's almost data ownership and customer ownership. And really our advice to promoters is like, yes, you have a really cool idea and you're really passionate about this form of music and you want to bring those people together, but if you don't try and operate like big business, if you don't try and protect that, then it will be bastardized and it will be taken and turned into something else. So our kind of mantra is like, own your customer. Historically, on a tangent, ticket agents are kind of, the ecosystem is, you put on an event, we'll sell the tickets for you, don't worry about it. And our mantra is actually like no, the selling of the tickets is actually, that is your business. And you want to make sure that you are owning those customers, because as you evolve the product, as they grow older, as you grow older, you want to be able to speak to your customers directly without having to go through third parties and interim things. And so, yeah, it's a very, very fine balance, and it's a bit of a minefield. You know, Nikki, you'll know from a PR perspective, you talked about the platforms at the moment. It's kind of like print media used to be massive. I remember reading every magazine when I was a kid, and now who buys paperback magazines? And they've had to make the transition online. And while they're doing that, you're trying to digitalize, and everyone's trying to like figure it out. And hopefully, like a video goes viral on TikTok or something, and that works. But ultimately, like if you've got a good product and you know your audience, like and you drive it, it will work.
I mean, adding to that, I mean, social media does give you more opportunities to get during the event coverage, because normally if you'd have traditional media, whether it's radio, TV, and online, they'd be doing online daily wrap-ups, you know, whereas now as part of your marketing deals, you'll be getting reels, stories, everything, you know, so you've just got more opportunities open to you. And obviously there's the after movie, which has become a huge thing. You know, every festival's now trying to compete with the best after movie. You know, is it Tomorrowland? Is it Ziga? You know, so those are kind of big epic moments. And now some festivals even send out a press release. We've dropped the after movie, you know, so that kind of video content telling the story of this year's festival is now also a big thing. So, you know, sometimes things are a hindrance, but sometimes you have to try and see the positives as well. So you basically got more channels, but how do you use them effectively?
Can I just like add a point of what you guys were saying about press and expenditure. It's every facet of the industry. Something organically comes up, right? And people start using it. I remember when social media first existed. I mean, Facebook was so good for us to market events. It was insane, but it was free. And then suddenly Facebook realized, holy fuck, like people are basing their whole business on our platform. We're going to charge for it. And then now when you're paying for it, it's kind of like, well, you know, the audience is not interacting and I'm buying likes. And then the relationship with these platforms, of course, Facebook is going to tell you your advert is doing extremely well. You should keep putting money into it. And but you know, back in the day, it was like you put a post up and you could see maybe you had 100 likes, but you knew they were 100 fans. It's like everything has been monetized now, so you have to play. You have to get involved. You have to play the game. I imagine marketing budget for you has gone like insane.
Actually, yeah, it is insane. But actually, listening to you, it's completely different story with B2B and G2G. Yeah, it is important to have wow after movie, and it is important to have wow social media marketing, but at the end, the government and the city counts the number of rooms that you filled in the hotels during the event. They count the number of investments, like real companies coming to your destination and staying there, opening their offices, looking for talents. So they count completely different things when you work with the city and the government. And yeah, it is important for the corporate partners as well to have these wow marketing things, but still they have their own return on investment. So if they pay for exhibition stand, they know, okay, we pay for, let's say, 15 square meters, so our investment is that, but we need that many clients and that many deals after the event because of the event. So it's completely different story what you invest and what they expect, partners, including corporates.
Yeah, this is different KPIs.
Yes.
Now I'll give the floor to people in the room if they have questions, comments, anything else. We have almost a little bit more than 10 minutes for questions.
Veli, maybe just
Yeah.
before we open the questions, I want to share one picture just as a proof that it is possible to make a global brand from a teeny tiny market as Bulgaria. If you can pose the picture with
the picture for internalization.
Yes. So this is Webit brand on the building of NASDAQ, most famous building of capital markets in New York. And they have been congratulating Webit for our 17th birthday and what we did about the global entrepreneurship in the world. So this is a proof that this brand, born in Bulgaria, in teeny tiny market of Bulgaria, was there on NASDAQ, on their facade, and they have been congratulating us. So it is possible.
That's really cool. Kudos.
Yeah, that's really amazing.
What am I doing here? Wait.
Do you have questions? Okay, I can continue with one more question, and if somebody decides or afterward...
They can be brave and chat to us afterwards, it's fine.
In the network. I also want to ask about the marketing these days, how important is for festivals to position as sustainable, as connecting with some causes and some philanthropic, mentioned Aniela, other things that they've done to attract especially the young audience.
Yeah, I mean, I can probably add to that. I work with A Greener Future, which is a company that assesses a lot of festivals. I think Primavera have been assessed, actually, so they're very good. And basically, if you think, one of the biggest examples is probably Oya Festival in Norway. They actually promote themselves a lot on their sustainability. And there are young people, as I think as Ed was saying before, some festivals, but some young people want to go to a festival that matches their values and their ethos. So if they've got sustainability values or if they're supporting charities, then that's something for them. I think We Love Green as well do it very well in Paris. Their sustainability credentials are very high. So that is definitely something that's moving into the forefront, you know, and Glastonbury and their lovely compostable toilets. But, you know, it is becoming a bigger thing now. You know, what can the music industry do to become more sustainable? And there are lots of kind of sharing cars, you know, and this kind of thing. Buses, you're probably selling buses and train way to get to a festival more sustainably. I think there was the big green bus back in the day. Yeah, so you can have that festival fun bus experience before you get there. And I think Melt Festival used to have a train, the party train. Actually, very sad, RIP Melt Festival, it's going to be their last edition this year. So sadly, the festival market isn't as healthy as we'd like, but, you know, they did do some good things.
Tomorrow there will be a panel about sustainability also
very good.
here on the Music Talks.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just down to what your event is around. Ultimately, you know, everyone should be an advocate of just being good people, and generally most music festivals are kind of a space to welcome that. I think there's like a balance of, you know, I think the word is authenticity, right? If you firmly believe this and this is your values, then sometimes your audience know that without having to say it. Sometimes when events get to scale, there is maybe political pressure, or you've entered the realm of different PR markets where you have to speak to those to kind of have it. I mean, yeah, I'm probably the wrong person, because my festival was like, you know, how much beer, how much drugs, is the sound system loud? That was like the main thing our customer wanted. But obviously when they got to the site, we did a lot of work to make sure that it was safe and it was a welcoming space. But I think the point around the new organizations and everything, I think this is just the more sort of professionalism that is moving into the market, and how holding events more accountable for the way they plan and operate and the initiatives. And because they've become so big, they're now almost like pillars in the community. I imagine you feel a weight of Webit from when it was small to now actually you're really looked up to in the community. So you have to be really careful about what you say when you say it, and not have allegiances to certain...
Because the trust is really important.
And we were talking around sponsorships in the UK, if anyone is following. Barclaycard, which is a national bank, sponsored many festivals in the UK, and because of the conflict in Palestine and Israel, they got into immense pressure to drop the sponsorship, and it's kind of... it can become a minefield. But yeah, I think it's important for anyone doing any business to operate on a let's be good to each other policy, whether that's sustainability, diverse welcoming of cultures, etc.
We mentioned all these uncertain events, wars, etc., post-pandemic conditions. Do you think, maybe it sounds a little bit not so polite, but do you think that these bad events actually increase the interest to people to festivals, experience, etc., because now they do not want to postpone something and they need something positive to experience?
I think it can, like, if you were going to talk about the experience, then of course, like, the mantra is these events really allow people to come together in a more positive way, but actually the reality is these events cause massive economic turmoil, and that creates challenges for people to do things outside or elevated experience. And so music festivals, which is different to B2B, they can be almost a luxury item for many people now. This is a holiday, this is some, and actually, like, no one wants those events to then create like something positive. Actually, there's nothing good about these things, and it trickles down to many facets of society, and one of those is economic climate, and that is what we're seeing is a real tight grip on people's disposable income and the ability to go and enjoy these things. And then obviously the people on our side who are pulling them on, they're even more constrained with how they can make things sustainable. Sometimes it's not about making money, it's just about surviving and having enough money to do what you love again and again. So no, I would probably say, like, fuck the wars and shit, and there's nothing good that comes out of them. But if people do find solace in events because these things are happening, then that is a good thing that music festivals do.
In B2B is the same because nowadays, even because not only because of the wars, etc., but also because of the sustainability, there are lots of corporates that 10 years ago they have been sending to Webit 10, 15, 20 people from there. Now they're sending 1 or 2, and they say, we need to buy less tickets, we need to spend less, etc., because we need to be more resilient, more sustainable, etc. So even in terms of number of people, it's not that attractive. And also in terms of business, even, people are much more accustomed to do their business even online. Though they need to come to make personal contact with the people that they already know. But they do not expect to meet that many new people.
It's the networking, isn't it? It's maintaining relationships. It's exactly what obviously this event is, and also things like Amsterdam Dance Event that I work on. So it's being in your community. So a business-to-business event can still be a community where you go meet your peers, your friends, and learn, as well as going to a festival, being with your friends.
Your circle of trust and you
Totally.
need to be there to make the personal touch. But otherwise, you can live without that, definitely.
Okay, last call for questions from the room. Then I will ask you to give a recommendation or advice. Which event do you recommend people to visit? You can give more than one options.
Yeah, I mean, for me, a young British kids going to my first festival, the big ones, this is 15, 20 years ago, Melt, Ziga, Exit were really firm things, but one of the two most impressive events that I've been to, just in terms of organic community and growth, is Fusion Festival in Germany and Boom Festival in Portugal. They was talking about earlier. Whether it's your musical taste or not, it's like a throwback to what I guess my parents told me about the 70s, or that kind of. There's a real grassroots community element to them, and the industrialization, commercialization is just completely rebuffed by these events, and that's probably a seed to their success, and you can really feel it when you're there. So I would, go check out either one of those and you'll be blown away.
If I'm thinking of B2B, so if someone works in the electronic music, you've got to go to the Amsterdam Dance Event. If you're working more with bands and live music, I would say Eurosonic, which is also in Holland. So the Dutch seem to do the best music conferences, for sure. And from a festival point of view, I would probably again say Ziget, because it's the biggest. It's on an island in the middle of the River Danube in Budapest. So you can stay in a hotel, you don't need to camp. It's also very cheap. And you can just dip in. There's so much to explore. It's one of those festivals you can just wander and get lost. And I quite like that. I quite like festivals in nature where you can just wander and discover some circus tent, some yoga tent, some kind of crazy stuff going on. So if you like to wander and get lost in a space, I would say Ziget.
Aniela?
It's hard for me to recommend that type of event because, first
You've got
come
the best.
to Webit, so you experience at least one B2B event.
It's okay, you can
And-
say Webit, you can say it.
And, we have a great party as well. So come to Webit party. Maybe in terms of internationalization of events and meetings with potential partners, IBTM in Barcelona is a good place to be because you can see there how a location sells itself, many venues all around the world, etc. So you can experience all these type of networking and contacts for when it comes to destinations and hosts of the events.
Okay, so I'll try only with a few words to conclude that we already joked that sun is not enough. Even we have more than enough sun everywhere right now. Maybe this in the next years even will
Not in
affect
London.
the calendar of the event. The calendar of the events. Maybe even Taylor Swift will be not enough in the next year. What is really important to do a good international or international local event and to be easy to market it, it's to find a unique proposition, to be authentic. It's not easy. Sometimes you need luck, but to know how to work on it. So you need really passion when you believe. The platform will help, even if you need to pay. I still think there is media who still has quality and some values, and they can be also helpful and tell good story. So I would like to give applause and thank you our speakers that they were honest to sharing their experience and maybe helpful to others how they will move in this industry. And we're lucky that we can all experience A2 Jazz in next 3 nights.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you.